Hello, welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Garden. My name is Anne. Tom is at work today. So today I am going to make bread, just like I do every week for our family. And this time I'm actually going to take you along and teach you how I learned to do this. I used to only make the no-knead breads, where you just let it rise forever and then throw it in a Dutch oven and bake it like that. But that's not really great for sandwiches. It's great for along with soups and stuff like that. It didn't really work for sandwiches, and my son was like, could you make bread but regular bread? And I was like, well, I can't really knead stuff because of my very painful condition. So that's when I kind of started looking into it and realized that you can knead bread with your KitchenAid mixer. However, I will tell you, I have just the regular one, not the bigger one that clips in, the more professional one, and it does shake it pretty hard. And the place I have it is on this little tiny bit of cabinet. We live in a trailer. Nothing's built really well here, so it does shake it quite a bit. So I do have to kind of stand there and hold it, and that is kind of exhausting for my arms because it is shaking so bad. But I do it anyway because the bread is delicious and my family actually eats it. I make 2 loaves a week. The recipe that I use, I found on a blog. However, it is Julia Child's bread recipe, white sandwich bread recipe. So I figured that's pretty well known. and in probably all of her cookbooks and stuff like that. A thing that I found, I used to watch, or I still do occasionally, watch The Great British Bake Off. And that got me kind of excited about the idea of baking bread because that's more practical than cakes and cookies and things like that. I've found when trying to do that and I used one of Paul Hollywood's recipes. Well, I followed the recipe exactly twice. Came out differently each time. So that's when I kind of learned through a trial and error process that you can't just trust the recipe. You have to learn what to look out for. So that's what I'm going to kind of try and teach today, is what to look out for, how it's supposed to feel and look, and you add water or flour depending on how it feels. It's a pretty simple recipe. I use bread flour. I've got my bread flour here. I just buy the giant bag of bread flour from Sam's Club. We're pretty frugal around here. I don't buy the fancy stuff unless I went to buy bread flour and it was out of stock and I had to buy the fancy stuff. We'll say it does taste a little better with the Bob's Red Mill. Definitely better quality, but it's okay. I use sea salt. You can whatever salt. I don't care what salt you use. Just use some. There's some salt. If you don't salt your bread, it's gonna taste terrible. One of the times that I made bread, I was like, oh, I can just kind of guess when I measure it. No, I did not salt it enough, and it was terrible. And we ended up throwing most of that away. So that was a lesson learned. So salt your bread. You need some water, warm but not hot. Basically what you do is you run the tap, you put your wrist under there, and when it doesn't really feel like anything, when it doesn't feel hot, doesn't feel cold on there, just feels like your normal skin temperature, that's when you're good. Fill up your cup, 2.5 cups. Yeast, I just buy this thing of active dry yeast. It works great. My family prefers honey. You can use whatever sweetener. I used sugar the first couple times, then I was like, I'm gonna try honey. That's what my family likes the taste of best, so that's what we use for our sweetener. And then unsalted butter. I put half a stick in it, and I use the rest for greasing my pans and for moisturizing the bread afterwards. That is a key. Moisturize your bread right after it comes out of the oven. Makes such a difference in the taste and the texture of it. I've experimented with both doing that and not doing it. Trust me. As for substitutions for any of this stuff, I'm pretty sure you can use all-purpose flour rather than bread flour. I just use bread flour because I can. Really what you have to do is you just have to play with it and experiment, and you'll figure out what you can substitute and what you can't. If you try and use some kind of sweetener that, a sugar substitute that doesn't have any calories or something like that, I don't know if the yeast is going to react with it or not. I haven't tried that because I don't care that much about things like carbs. Well, I guess if you're worried about carbs, you're not baking bread anyway. I don't know if you can use stevia or something like that with it. Try it. If the yeast doesn't react, you haven't gotten very far into it yet, and you can use a regular sweetener. You just lost a little bit of time and effort. It takes about 5 minutes to figure out if the yeast is reacting and then get going. So we're going to start with the yeast. We're going to pour about half of this 2.5 cups of water into our bowl. If you don't have a KitchenAid mixer, you can still totally make this. I just physically cannot knead dough by hand and go to work the next day. I will be in too much pain. I have a desk job. A lot of my job is moving paper around, so my arms would hurt too much and I wouldn't be able to function at work the next day. But if you don't have the money for a KitchenAid mixer, it took me a long time to get the money for this. You can mix this by hand with a spoon and then knead it with your hands. I'm sure there are plenty of videos out there to show you kneading, but really kneading is just push it away and pull it back, push it away and pull it back and forth for a while until the gluten develops. You don't have to have this machine to do this. If you don't have the money for it, don't feel bad. You can still totally do this. I just physically cannot. Really very simple recipe. Again, makes 2 loaves. I need 1 tablespoon of yeast to put in there and 1 tablespoon of honey. Part of the reason why I like this recipe is it's pretty easy to remember. Getting low on honey. But the farmer's market opens next week, so we can go finally get the good honey and not have to buy this stuff from Walmart anymore. All right, so I've just mixed the honey, water, and yeast together. And now I have to set a timer because I can't figure out what 5 minutes is. Pretty sure I've got the ADHDs. So in order for me to focus and remember to come check this in 5 minutes, not let it go too long. I let it go too long once, my bread overproofed and it was harder to make sandwiches with and cut through. So I'm just gonna set a timer and I will meet you back here in 5 minutes and we will check on this yeast. All right, we're back. It's been 5 minutes and as you can see, we got foam. So that means our yeast is working, it is good. And in fact, I don't want it to get more foamy than that or else we're gonna have to worry about overproofing. But I wish you could smell this because I love the smell of yeast and bread baking. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start adding our flour. Our total is gonna be like 6 to 6.5 cups, but when we start, we put the rest of the water in. This is how I do it. I don't remember if this is exactly what the instructions said. And then I just kind of scoop some in, shake it off a little bit, because I know it's gonna be more compacted. I'm gonna add first 3 cups. And as you can see, it's kind of scant, but like I said, I'm not doing that thing where I scoop and scrape to make sure it's not too heavy. So I've got 3 cups in here. This is also when I'm going to add the salt. If we add it with the original liquid, the salt will, I think, kill the yeast, or at least make it not work properly. 2 teaspoons. 1 teaspoon for each loaf is how I can remember it. All right, and then we're gonna add our butter kind of after this mixes up a bit. I'm going to mix it a little bit just because my little splash guard thing only works on my smaller bowl. Okay, so I put it down. I got my dough hook on, as you can see, locked into place. I'm gonna just let it start mixing. When it gets about like this, where I can see that the flour's all pretty well in there, that's when I'm gonna start adding my butter. I've got my little half stick of butter. I just kind of break it up into chunks and I let the mixer kind of take it. And that butter was very much room temperature. I pulled it out last night so that it would be very soft for today. Melted, I don't know if it would work. I don't know if the chemical composition would be right or whatever, if it were melted. I just know one time I forgot to pull it out and I was trying really hard. I tried the trick with, you put it under a glass to like warm it up faster, and it was a pain in the butt. So if you know you're gonna make bread, the night before, pull out your unsalted butter and it'll be fine. You can see that over here, you can see a little bit of the butter, but I'm gonna start adding more flour. It'll mix in better too as there's more flour, as there's more for it to kind of push up against. 3 more. And then I'm gonna use my spatula. It's gonna fly up at me a little bit anyway, but I don't want it to get all over. So I'm gonna just kind of use my spatula to get some of that flour moistened at least. All right, so it's looking pretty shaggy right now, as you can see. Now, you are gonna see some of this fly up at me a little bit, but oh well. Oh hey, It's not flying up at me, of course, because I said it was. And you can see it's starting to, the machine slowed down. You can hear that. And it's forming a shaggy ball here. Now what I'm looking for, how I know I have enough flour, is it's gonna unstick once I get enough flour in there. And I'll show you exactly the point where I know it's right. So far I just have this onto, it's fairly low. I will move it kind of up and down as it needs it. You see how it's still very floopy? Very soft, very sticking everywhere. I just put a little bit at a time and see what happens as it kind of incorporates. It also might be like extra humid today because it was rainy last night. It's supposed to rain again today. It's like, was 87 degrees was the high today. I'm getting impatient, so I'm gonna move it up a little bit. And back down for the adding, because I don't like getting a face full of flour. It's getting closer, because you can see it out how at the bottom is only where it's sticking now. It's not sticking all over the sides like it was. But you can see in there right now how there's just a little bit kind of sticking to the bottom. Looks like a little dough tornado right now. But it's still sticking at the bottom. So we still need a little bit more. And I just, along the side, put it in. Okay, just a tiny bit more. All right, you can see now at the bottom, it's not sticking to the bottom anymore. And it doesn't really, it's not real sticky on my finger. See, I'm coming up clean. This is the consistency. Not sticky, but not super dry either. This is the point where we are done with the flour. I'm gonna let the machine knead this for 8 minutes. I did look online to see if you're kneading it by hand, and what I'm finding is it looks like it's about the same. So I'm gonna turn this back on. I'm gonna set my timer, and I'm gonna go back and forth between it going fast and it going slower. I don't have a base under it, and it's not on the most stable thing, so I'm gonna hold it down. It's not sticking it all to the bottom while I'm kneading it. Now my mixer is gonna get hot too, because I'm letting it go this long, and it is, you know, it's doing something kind of hard right now. Don't worry if it does get hot. I will tell you also, I have had things shake out of it. This little part in the front that covers where you can put some accessories, that shook out while I was kneading bread. So I just took it out and I'm leaving it. It looks so smooth and gorgeous right now. It's coming out really well. It's just going up above the dough hook a little more than I'd like today. A little bit annoyed by that. It doesn't always do that. I don't know why it sometimes does that and sometimes doesn't. Now, I just pull it off of the dough hook here. It is a little bit sticky right now, but that's okay. I am gonna just kind of push it down. We're gonna let it rise, and now we let it rise until it doubles in size. I'm not great at spatial relations, so I just kind of look where it's at on here, and I'm waiting for it to get up here. I don't like to get extra oil on my bread. I used to cover it with, you know, plastic wrap that had some oil on it. I just didn't really like the way that makes the bread turn out on the top. It's like it fries the top layer of the bread. Since I am real picky, I decided to stop doing that. And I saw Heather on Sage and Stone Homestead just stick hers in the microwave so that like nothing could get at it, and it could just rise without, you know, having to worry about any kind of bugs or anything getting to it, or just dust in the air or whatever. So we're just gonna go stick this in the microwave. The actual recipe says to let it rise. I think the first rise is 1.5 hours and the second rise is 1 hour. However, I have had days where in half an hour it was doubled. So I start checking it at half an hour. So I've got my timer. I'm gonna check it at half an hour, and we'll let you know if it's gotten big enough yet, or if we need to let it go a little bit longer. It really just depends on weather and ambient temperature and all that kind of stuff. So I'll meet you back here in half an hour and we'll check on the bread. Okay, so it's been half an hour, and we're gonna check really quick to see if the bread has risen enough or if we need to let it go longer. And here we are. It's real close. If I were feeling particularly lazy, I might just call this good. I'm gonna let it go until it probably rises up to where it says the 12 cups. But I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. We're gonna check it probably about 20 minutes. I'm not gonna let it go a full 30 because it's real close now. So I'll meet you back here in 20 minutes and we'll see if it's ready to go. All right, we're back. It's been 20 more minutes. Oh yeah, that's all it took. 20 more minutes. Look at how much bigger that is. This is ready. So I am not good with spatial relations either when things are like equal. So I was getting one much larger loaf and one much smaller loaf, which is fine, whatever. But I do have kitchen scales, so I decided to start using that. So punch it and then pull it away from the sides here. You gotta let most of the air out. All right, so I'm gonna put this bowl on here. So it's zeroed out. We're just gonna weigh this real quick. Just throw it in there. Okay, so 760 is half of that. I am good at math, I will say that. I just tear it in half, really. We'll just pull off until we get down to what we need it to be. That's good enough. Well, it doesn't have to be absolutely exact, but this is gonna give me 2 fairly even loaves. Okay, so now we need to grease our pans. It is entirely up to you, but I will tell you, at first I was using avocado oil because I use that for pretty much everything. It was harder to get the bread out of the pan. When I use butter and grease my pans with that, the loaves literally fall out of the pans when I flip them over after they're done making. And I use about a tablespoon, and I'm just doing it kind of roughly. And then I'll use this last little bit to moisturize my bread afterwards. I just like to say that, moisturizing my bread. I just butter it after. I think it's cuter. So I just use my hands to do this. I prefer to use my hands for just about everything. And honestly, I can't stand the way it feels after I'm done, but I feel like I have more control if I use my hands. I just spread it around. I like to leave a little extra in the corners, the little extra bits, because that's where it's more likely to be frustrating. I do have 2 different bread pans because I bought them at different times. They both work just fine. All right, so those are now greased. I grease it pretty heavily, but that's because I don't want to deal with trying to like pry it out later. When I do it like this, I literally just, once they're baked, I flip it over onto the cooling rack and then flip the loaf back over and it comes right out. At first, what I was doing with shaping these loaves was I was kneading it just a tiny bit, like less than a minute, and then stretching it out into rectangle and rolling it up. And then I was really tired making this one time and I was like, hey, I wonder if that even matters. And it doesn't. So I just kind of stretch it out a little bit and throw it in there. Hey, look, it'll be a loaf once it rises. Oh, I got a big old bubble there, so I'm just gonna pop that. And then what I'm gonna do is, just like with the big bowl full of dough, I'm gonna stick these in the microwave to protect them while they do their second rise. And like the first time, I'm gonna check after about half an hour. I'll meet you back here in about half an hour and we will see if these have risen enough. I'll kind of show you what I'm looking for rise time. In the meantime though, I am gonna preheat my oven. These loaves bake at 375 for half an hour and I've never had that fail at all. So I'm gonna preheat the oven to 375. That way, if they are done in half an hour, I know the oven's definitely gonna be hot enough and I don't have to worry about them overproofing while I'm waiting for the oven to preheat. So now I will meet you back here in half an hour and we'll see how things are going. All right, it's been half an hour. So we are going to check now. Oh yeah. I want them so, if you look from the side, so they're just a little above the top of the pan. That's what I'm going for. They may not look the super prettiest because I didn't, roll them up or whatever, but they're still gonna turn out just fine and they're gonna be useful for my family. If you missed it before, oven is preheated to 375. I'm gonna bake them for half an hour and that's it. Like, it works out really well. They are gonna get a little bit bigger in the oven. And I'll meet you back here in half an hour so you can see the finished product. All right, so it's been half an hour that it's been baking. And look how beautiful that is. I love these. It's always so magical when they come out of the oven. They look glorious, they smell delicious, and watch this. Right out. 0 efforts. There we go. Bread. One of the most basic homesteading things you need to learn how to do. You know, cooking from scratch, being able to use the things that you grow. And just like in my head, one of the things that is so like necessary if I'm gonna do this kind of lifestyle is baking my own bread. So last final important step here, while it's fresh and hot, we just take the rest of that stick of butter and I just rub it on there. Just cover the whole thing here, go all the way around the little sides. That is gonna be absolutely delicious. I'm gonna let it cool, and I will show you what it looks like inside when I cut it. I'm just gonna let it sit for now and cool off properly. We're gonna let this cool, and I'll meet you back here when this feels good. All right, so the bread is cool. I just have been storing it in gallon-sized Ziploc bags. I did buy this, I just got it off of Amazon, but it's essentially like a bread saw, and it's got little measurements for when you're slicing the bread. I really like it because it keeps it straight up and down. So we're just gonna cut into the bread here. See that? It's beautiful. It's just right. Absolutely, it tastes delicious. There we go. Get you a nice slice. There we go. And it's very flexible, and yeah. So that's how it turns out. So that is what our bread looks like. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something. And thanks so much for stopping by. Bye.